Okay, well, the program started off because I'm a district administrator for the adult parole section in California. And we have almost 45 to 55% of our population of parolees are unemployed. And a lot of the parolees that are unemployed, our empirical studies have showed that that's one of the number one barriers as far as preventing them from relapsing and going back into prison employment. So it's very important to get our people employed, but not just employed into jobs. We would like to get them into careers. And we partnered with the Department of Rehabilitation, which is another state agency, and that's their key function, is to help people that have disabilities get back into working with careers. So what we've seen, and it also reflects a lot of the federal studies that have been done, is that a lot of our parolees have mental health disabilities, impediments that prevent them from working. So what we do is we pair them up with our sociologists, psychologists from within our agency, and we come up with their diagnosis and refer them over to the Department of Rehabilitation, which funds their training. And because parolees or probationers, they have dreams just like everyone else. There are different things that they want to do. So if they want to get into culinary arts, they want to get into construction, they want to get into truck driving schools. We even had some people that signed up and were approved to be crane operators. They can do that. But of course, they have to come up with a plan. It has to be approved by the Department of Rehabilitation, the Department of Corrections. And once that's approved, they go off the training. And then once they come out of the training classes, then they're helped as far as to get into employment. But the key for us is to get them into long-term careers of their choosing that they would like to do. And it has to be voluntary, so that once they're in it, they're happy and they continue to stay in that program, and hopefully they never recidivate again. One of our programs is called Career Expansions, that pretty much every single person that we referred, they were able to not only train them, but also place them into a job and make an offer. And that has been key, because we know that we can train our population easily, but we place just as much emphasis on the placement into employment. And we've been very, very successful with it. As a district administrator for the Department of Corrections, and I've been around for over 20-something years, if somebody had come to me and said we could do this, I would have had some doubts. But we have been very fortunate that, and I think that it's just by the way that we're doing it, slowly and taking our time, and really, I guess, vetting, the individual parolee to make sure that he has a realistic plan. It's actually been working out. Pretty much the benefit for us as the Department of Corrections is that if we can keep them in the community paying taxes and keeping them tired because they're working so hard. A lot of these guys are working 12-hour days. It's a benefit for everyone. It's a win-win situation because we all know the cost of incarcerating someone versus to keep them out in the community. You can't compare the two. Really what we've been doing is once they get out of prison, again, we're back to our research. Our research shows us that within the first 90 days, that if we make contact with them and we can help them redirect themselves into getting into something that is going to be beneficial to them, and you have to get the buy-in from the parolee because that's something that they want to do. If we could do all of that and provide them the funding to get into a training, our population is jumping on it because just like you've seen in some of the videos, it was so much of a good deal for them that they just couldn't pass it up. Most of our people have never had an opportunity to receive any type of formal, vocational training. And another component that's really big is that a lot of them were identifying that have mental health issues that they didn't even know that they have. So once we send them to meet with our psychiatrists, and it's called our outpatient clinic, they evaluate them and they do a basic mental health evaluation. And for some of them, they continue to monitor them just to let them know that there's assistance for them. And then they understand why maybe sometimes in some cases this is why I get upset, this is why I'm angry, this is why I have anxiety, and they get to learn how to control that. And then of course we put them into the program, they go through the program, and then they're employed. We had a young man that was living on the side of the freeway. He was homeless. He has no support, no family members, and we were able to send him through a construction class with career expansions. And again, this was funded by the Department of Rehabilitation. So the Department of Rehabilitation paid approximately $4,000 to train him for 30 to 35 days in construction. Gave him all the certificates that he would need to get on to just about any construction site in California. Some of these certificates are federal certificates from the Department of Labor and things like that, and it's probably about 7 to 8 different certificates. So once he was finished with that, he was able to get a job within 2 weeks of the training. And for someone like that, that pretty much was really hungry to go to work, but he had no training, he didn't have the skills, he didn't have the direction, the collaboration between the Department of Corrections and the Department of Rehab, working with career expansions, completely transformed his life from someone that was living on the side of the freeway with no direction into now starting a new career. So we get to see this transformation over and over and over again, and that's what we've been working on. The process to get into the program, we try to make it as easy as possible. So you parole, we come in and we talk to you, and we basically explain the whole program to them. And the key here is that we only want those that are willing to put in the work, the ones that want to work, the ones that are willing to make a difference and transform their lives. So we explain that to them. We show some videos of some of the other success stories. It's a very simple process. They come in, they show that they're willing, that they want to work, they fill out a referral form. After that, we evaluate them because we have to get some type of a diagnosis to see if they're eligible for the Department of Rehabilitation program. If they're not eligible for that program, and I should say also, our research is showing us anywhere from 75 to 85% of our people qualify. So the overwhelming majority of them do qualify. We just have to be able to document that diagnosis. If they don't, we have other programs that we can send them to and other things that we can get them to get the funding. So once we have that diagnosis, what happens is they meet with a rehabilitation counselor, and that person finds them eligible. And we do this within a week or 2 weeks or something like that. Once they're found eligible, then they bring them back in and they do an individual plan for them. So the person that wants to do culinary arts, they come up and they pick a school that he would go to, and they go over the curriculum. They set up a time frame as far as when is he going to complete the class. They provide them with whatever tools that they need for that class. And the person is off to the class, they get it done, they bring back their certificates showing that they've completed the class. And then at that point, the Department of Rehabilitation will monitor them for another 90 days and still providing them with boots or whatever tools that they need to make sure that they get there. A lot of them are also provided transportation. So for each month they receive a transportation check just to help them get to transportation. So that's basically the whole process. After that 90 days, then they close their cases successfully. The challenges that we've seen that they have right now, of course, is they're returning back home. And a lot of times the areas that they came from are the areas that nothing has changed. Some of the people that they were or got into trouble with are still in those areas. So that's the number one thing. So as far as getting into employment, one of the barriers as far as getting into employment, yes, they're all convicted felons. And this is the reason why that it's a case-by-case basis as far as where we're going to place them. And they do have some restrictions because, of course, if you committed some type of a bank robbery or something like that, you'll never be able to work in a bank or some stores and everything else. So we have to look at that. So one of the keys to being successful is that the parole agent works with the Department of Rehabilitation counselor. We draw out the guidelines as far as what that person can do, what he can't do, so that we can make sure that we have a positive outcome. And then from there, they have to go and they go out and they do interviews just like everyone else. Some places will say we're not going to give you a shot because you have a background that we're not okay with. And then some places we just keep going until they find some place that will give them that opportunity. So some of it is a hit and miss, but because of the type of training that they're receiving, we're getting our people hired. You know, to do these types of programs, we need a partnership. We have Coastline Community College that's been helping us with this. The Department of Rehabilitation They're the specialists in rehabilitation. We've got the Department of Corrections working on it. And then we also have a lot of the outside community agencies. We have churches that all together come together to help our parolees. I think one of the things that we have to focus on is that our parolees are going to come back home. And if we don't take that effort within the community to all work together to try to really rehabilitate them, provide training, provide help to assist them, then pretty much we're going to just end up with them going back into prison, because some of them, they've been in juvenile hall, juvenile probation, California Youth Authority, and all of this is still as a juvenile, and then they went into the adult system. I'm seeing that by them receiving that help, and then somebody walking them through how to establish themselves into a career has really made a big difference. So just glad to be a part of it.